After 4 years of war, impoverished, staggering under a colossal debt, bent to the will of a handful of scheming men. Weary, blood-soaked Europe was ready in 1918 to be molded into any shape which would ensure lasting peace. Some innocent people thought that was what the peacemakers were doing at Versailles. But the new boundaries sowed the seeds of new hatreds. From these hatreds, a small band of men, the armament makers, the dealers in death, have reaped a golden harvest. Today, Europe is seething with unsettled controversies and dangerous discontent. The Franco-German border, the Austro-German and Yugoslav frontiers, the Polish corridor are loaded with dynamite, ready to blow up. Germany is encircled by an iron ring of armed nations, frightened and prepared. There are more men under arms today than ever before. A new generation of manhood is marching through Europe with fixed bayonets. France has 7 million men ready, including her reserves. Great Britain, over 1 million. Russia, over 16 million, including her trained reserves. With dictator Stalin at the head. Italy has 8 million soldiers, not including her 8-year-old recruits, all under Mussolini. Germany, allowed a standing army of only 100,000, has 5 million in reserve under Hitler. Japan, over 2 million. China, 2 million and an untapped reserve of millions more. Austria, 30,000 and growing under Starhemberg. In Turkey, there are 700,000 with Mustafa Kemal Pasha at the head. Czechoslovakia has a French-trained army of 1,700,000. At sea, the naval armament race is in full swing. Great Britain adds to her mighty fleet. Her shipyards hum with activity, very happy. Japanese big Navy men want equality of sea power, and they're out to get it. They'd rather scrap the Washington Treaty than scrap one ship of their fleet. Restricted from launching big battleships, Germany built these 10,000-ton pocket ships. They are faster, more modern, and deadlier than any devised by the larger powers. And the race is on. Here is a continent covered with huge factories making munitions. It's Europe's biggest and most powerful industry. In England, there is Vickers Armstrong, called the stepmother of Parliament, a billion-dollar corporation. Schneider Gruzo in France is the real giant of the armament world, doing a gross business of over 6.5 billion francs annually. In Germany, there is Krupp, a name almost synonymous with munitions. In every country on the continent, dozens of plants working at top speed. Europe's greatest business. Its market is war and the preparation for war. Governments are its customers. Soldiers and civilians, its ultimate consumers. The sun never sets on Vickers Armstrong. Founded over a century ago, this monster enterprise has grown from a small iron works to an industrial empire reaching out to every corner of the globe. Is there a war in the Far East? Vickers fills millions of dollars worth of orders. Does South America want a revolution? Vickers supplies its share of the death-dealing implements. Its relations with the British Army, the Navy, and the peerage are more than cordial. To this firm goes the credit for making England one of the world's leading exporters of arms. Krupp, under the Treaty of Versailles, was forbidden to make armaments. Supposedly engaged in the manufacture of nothing but peaceful industrial products, this German firm is actually rearming Germany to the tune of more than 100 millions annually. The treaty put Krupp out of the arms business at home, but it didn't forbid the operation of munitions factories in other countries. So plants were set up in Holland and Sweden. Krupp's super salesmen canvassed the world's markets and have made South America and the Orient into excellent customers. Some of Germany's late allies and even a few of her former enemies are doing business with Krupp once more in defiance of the Versailles Treaty. Just to keep the balance of trade straight, Krupp imports rifles, airplane engines, chemicals, and dynamite from the French-owned Skoda works in Czechoslovakia. But the most alert munitions boys of them all are Schneider Gruzo. There's no weapon of death this French firm does not make. Airplanes, artillery, submarines, complete battleships. This firm owns banks, mines, railroads, power trusts, cable companies, automobile and chemical factories, ships, and newspapers. Its customers are in every hemisphere, its agents in every country from China to Peru. But France is by far its biggest buyer. Here she modernizes her arms, assembles her gigantic air fleet, builds bigger tanks, and develops her chemical warfare. Outside of France, Schneider Gruzo is equally powerful. Heading its 230 international subsidiaries is Skoda in Czechoslovakia. Once, Skoda was Austria's great armament factory. Now it supplies Yugoslavia, Spain, Switzerland, South America, and even France, Belgium, and Italy. 40% of its goods are exported. Into every corner of Europe, the armament octopus spreads its tentacles. Genuine brothers in arms they are, an international fraternity, enmeshed in interlocking directorates and working with common capital. Vickers Armstrong and Schneider Gruzo are joint owners of one company. Schneider owns half the shares of Skoda. Krupp owns Bofors of Sweden and has stock in Vickers. All closely related, these munitions magnates work together for a common end. More wars and more profits. Just one happy family.